the former Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, who we talked about a little bit earlier, he's pushing back on Trump's comments about making Canada the 51st state. But I haven't even seen this. But if I had to guess, he's doing it in a less than confrontational way with our American friends, probably strongly reiterating what it means to be a Canadian as opposed to how much better we are because we're not Americans.
According to President Trump, about $200 billion a year protecting Canada. Went on saying he doesn't need, the U.S. doesn't need Canada's lumber, cars, or dairy, and maybe even Canada should be a 51st state. A lot out there just in a couple weeks. What's your reaction to all of that?
Well, I must admit some degree of surprise. We've always, I was, in fact, our Conservative Party is a very, pro-American, pro-Western party. I was probably the most pro-American prime minister in the history of our country. I view our relationship with the United States as one of Canada's great assets. You are our closest neighbor, our vital security partner, and not just our friend and shared comrade in the propagation of the values of the free and democratic world everywhere. And I've always viewed this as a tremendous partnership. I understand that Donald Trump may want some changes in trade arrangements, but I must admit to being shocked by some of the things he said. They're just not so. First of all, we don't actually sell dairy into the United States, or sell almost none. So that's not true. Canada, it is true that Canada presently has a modest trade surplus with the United States. The reason, Gabe, we do is because you buy so much of our oil and gas. In fact, you buy it at a discount to world markets. It's actually Canada that subsidizes the United States in this regard. And, so maybe my response is maybe Canadians, if Mr. Trump feels this way, should be looking at selling their oil and gas to other people. We certainly have always wanted to do some of that. Maybe now's the time to do it. And when we talk about subsidizing Canadian defense, I don't know what he's talking about. We have a shared defense of North America. The United States does that because it's in the vital interest of the United States. Do you want Canada to be a neutral country? I kind of don't understand. I just don't understand that. I don't understand that argument. There's many things he's saying. Even when you talk about migrants, first of all, there's no major migrant flow from Canada to the United States. You've obviously got an enormous problem on the southern border. By the way, I'm completely sympathetic with Donald Trump's position on this. I thought the policy of open borders of the Biden administration was disgraceful. I mean, I think it was a violation of President. I know Joe Biden personally. I like him, but it was a violation of his fundamental duties to the country. And of course, President Trump wants to change that. But there is no migrant flow happening from Canada to the United States in any significant numbers. And I'm going to tell you right now, drugs, guns, crime, most of those things flow north, not south. A lot more flows into Canada from the United States than flows out of it. So,
well, Sheila, he makes some excellent points. Boy, I'm getting so nostalgic to see an adult in the room, to see someone with gravitas, to see someone who comprehends all the issues and comes from this debate with an informed perspective, because it's not what we get from the Liberals. And I don't want to be partisan about that, but it's just true, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it would be wonderful if we could sell our oil to other markets as well as the United States, but it takes time to build pipelines, and Justin Trudeau would not allow us to build export pipelines. That's just the way it is. Not only would not allow us to build the ones that were proposed, but also sabotaged any future pipeline proposals. Yep. Through an onerous regulatory process that is the prohibition in and of itself. And, it is true that the net flow of migrants flows north, not south. However, we have become a bit of an exporter of terrorism. And, how many American lives should be jeopardized by the fact that dangerous people are coming into Canada and using Canada as a launch pad to potentially commit terrorism acts in, for example, upstate New York. I'm like Stephen Harper. I'm sympathetic to Trump's positions, and I can understand why Trump is adversarial with us when you're dealing with Justin Trudeau, who neither understands the issues that the Americans are facing, but doesn't really seem to understand the issues that Canadians are facing either.
And on that issue of border security, as Stephen Harper said, the lion's share of the problem by far is the southern border. It's a sieve, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration these past 4 years. But Trump's not even in the White House, Sheila. And what have we seen? We've seen the province of Alberta and Ontario beef up border security on their own. We've even had the feds announce, they're investing in new drones, sniffer dogs, and so on and so forth. And that's without him even being in office. So he does get results. And by the way, I want to just say, I'm glad Stephen Harper cleared up the milk issue, because dairy always came up. We don't need your dairy. And it was always news to me, Sheila, especially since we have the odious supply management system in Canada, which, by the way, was brought in by Justin's alleged father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. I never thought we were an exporter of dairy to the U.S. And, I guess Stephen Harper, clarified that. And, when I filled in for Ezra for his monologue on Friday, I did 7 humorous reasons, hopefully they were humorous, why Americans want nothing to do with Canada. And one was milk, because unlike the U.S., we sell milk in plastic bags here.
We don't sell milk in plastic bags here, only there. But there's more parts of this country than just there.
Well, I'm talking about the center of the universe when it comes to Canada. Right. And what Americans call whole milk, we call homo milk. I mean, imagine that, Sheila, homo milk in plastic bags. I guess we're getting close to gay porn again, aren't we? But
yeah, I mean, it is a fundamental misunderstanding of the food supply chain in this country. If you think we're exporting milk to the United States, excuse me, we're a country that would rather spill milk on the ground, making it more expensive for poor people in Canada, than export it to the United States.
And folks, that's not a joke. Yeah. There are farmers that they're obliged to dump perfectly good milk because they're going to exceed quota. And we had an example of that last year, didn't we? I think it was in the Niagara Falls area. A dairy farmer went on social media. He's gone really quiet. I think the dairy people really wrapped his knuckles. But he showed the video of, gallons and gallons, or liters and liters, if you prefer, of milk just going down the drain when we have food bank use at a record high in this country. That's despicable.
Yeah, I mean, I think they call the Canadians colloquially in Bellingham, Washington, the Red Plague, because we descend on the Costco there and buy up all the milk and the cheese, thus irritating the locals, because Bellingham is sort of right across the border. They call us the Red Plague. They really do. And that's because we will travel across the border to buy affordable milk and cheese, because the quota artificially inflates the price of milk here. So no, we're not exporting it.
And Sheila, on that point, does that not speak volumes of the screw job we have in Canada, where when people from BC go to Washington, the Red Plague, as you called them, and buy up the milk and cheese, because right off the bat, you're taking a 30% haircut with the dollar differential. And even with that, it is still way cheaper to get your dairy products in U.S. dollars than it is to buy the domestic products. It's a fake market. It's a monopolistic system here where the prices are artificially fixed.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message, because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.